In this lecture, I will give you few examples in which we can apply Lagrangian formulations to get the equations of motion. So, the primary goal of classical mechanics is to find the state of a system. For finding the state of a system at a particular instant of time, we need an equation of motion. And Lagrangian formulation is a method where we can find the equations of motion from a knowledge of kinetic energy and potential energy of the system. Now, for applying Lagrangian formulation, the first thing we need to know is the number of degrees of freedom of a system. Okay, so Lagrangian formulation. The first thing we want to find is the number of degrees of freedom. We can denote it by small letter n. Suppose you are considering a system having small n degrees of freedom. The next thing we need to do is identify the generalized coordinates. Identify the generalized coordinates of the system. Generalized coordinates means the number of independent coordinates required to specify the state of a system. Okay, so identify the generalized coordinates and suppose they are denoted as q1, q2, q3, etc. qn. If a system have n degrees of freedom, it will have n generalized coordinates, because number of degrees of freedom is the number of independent coordinates required to specify the state of a system, and that particular set of coordinates is known as generalized coordinates. And for a particular dynamical system, this generalized coordinates will not be unique. You can have different sets of generalized coordinates, but the number of generalized coordinates is always unique. Okay, now if you have a set of generalized coordinates, then the next step is express kinetic energy and potential energy in terms of this generalized coordinates. In terms of this generalized coordinates, you have to express the kinetic energy and potential energy of the system. Then we can form the Lagrangian. Lagrangian, by definition, it is the difference between kinetic energy and potential energy. This is the difference between kinetic energy and potential energy, and you can denote it by the letter L. Okay, so form the Lagrangian of the system. Then we can write the equation of motion. What is the equation of motion? It is given by d by dt of dou L by dou Qj dot minus dou L by dou Qj is equal to 0. These Qj's are generalized coordinates and Qj dots are generalized velocity. This Qj dot, what is the meaning of Qj dot? It is simply dQj by dt, total time derivative of Qj, and it is known as generalized velocity. L is Lagrangian and T is time. This is Lagrange's equation of motion. So if we have n degrees of freedom, there will be n Lagrange's equations of motion. This is the procedure we are going to follow in finding the equations of motion for the following systems. I will consider first the case of a vertical motion under gravity. Vertical motion under gravity. Okay. So here I can draw a figure like this. Suppose this is a reference height. Okay. Say let it take let it be z equal to 0, and this vertical upward direction, I'll consider this as z axis. This is positive z direction. This is positive z direction. Suppose we have a particle. Suppose we have a particle which is constrained to move only along the z direction, which is constrained to move only along the z direction under the action of gravity. Okay, the gravitational force acting on this mass is vertically downward. When we are using Lagrangian formulation, no need to draw the forces acting on the system. In Newtonian formulation, the procedure is to draw to draw the free body diagram of the system. Here, no need to identify the forces and to draw the free body diagram at all. You just write the kinetic energy and potential energy in terms of generalized coordinates. So the system is now a single particle. Okay, the system is a single particle of mass m. There is a constraint that the system can move only along z direction. It can be either upward or downward. The motion is restricted only along the z direction. So degrees of freedom is just one. Okay, system has only 1 degree of freedom. It can move only along the z direction. So degrees of freedom is one. That is the first step. Then what is a suitable choice of generalized coordinate? I already mentioned that the generalized coordinate is not unique. Okay, you can have different choice. Here, a suitable choice is the z coordinate of this particle itself. Okay, so here I have a reference z equal to 0, and based on that, you can mark the position of this particle. Suppose it is denoted as z. Then the generalized coordinate is, of course, z. Now, we identified the number of degrees of freedom and generalized coordinate. Then the next step is expressing kinetic energy and potential energy in terms of this generalized coordinate. What is kinetic energy? Kinetic energy is half mv square. That is the expression for kinetic energy for a particle, single particle of mass m moving with the velocity. Here you can write v as z dot because the particle is moving only along the z direction. So as the particle moves with respect to time, this z coordinate will vary. If it is moving upward, z dot is positive. If it is moving downward, z dot is negative. But irrespective of whether it is positive or negative, z dot square will be always positive. So that is irrelevant whether it is moving upward or downward. We will get kinetic energy as half m z dot square. Half m z dot square. Now, what is potential energy? Potential energy is here in general we can have two types of potential energy. One is gravitational potential energy. Second one is spring potential energy. Here the situation is a gravitational potential energy because the particle as the particle moves there is a height difference with respect to this reference. So there will be a change in potential energy. At this particular point, what is the potential energy? For defining potential energy, we need a reference, and that reference is arbitrary actually. You can fix it anywhere because only the difference of potential energy has any physical significance. Okay. If you are taking the reference at this point, z equal to 0, potential energy of this mass when it is at this particular point is given by mgz, because for gravitational potential energy you have the expression mgh. Here h is nothing but z. Okay, so potential energy is mgz. The next step is forming Lagrangian. What is Lagrangian? Lagrangian is defined as L is equal to T minus V, and that is nothing but half m z dot square minus mg z. So this is the Lagrangian of a particle which is in vertical motion under gravity. Which is in vertical motion under gravity. Half mz dot square minus mgz. The next step is writing the equation of motion. Equation of motion is d by dt of dou L by dou z dot minus dou L by dou z equal to 0. Here, the generalized coordinate is z. So, in this equation of motion, qj will get replaced with z. Qj will get replaced with z. Okay. Now, we already know the value of L, half m z dot square minus mg z. So we can easily find the partial derivatives with respect to z as well as partial derivative with respect to z dot. Partial derivative with respect to z is simply minus mg. Because since it is a partial derivative, you can treat all other terms as constant except z. Okay, so half m z dot square, there is no z, so its derivative will be 0. For minus mg z, minus mg is constant, derivative of z with respect to z is 1. What is dou L by dou z dot? It is half m into 2z dot. The last term will give you 0. So this is simply mz dot. Now you substitute back d by dt of dou L by dou z dot is mz dot minus dou L by dou z is minus mg is equal to 0. D by dt of mz dot, m you can take outside, d by dt of z dot plus mg equal to 0. This implies m into d square z by dt square is equal to minus mg, or d square z by dt square is minus g. This is the equation of motion for a particle which is in vertical motion under gravity. What is the meaning of this equation? What is z double dot or d square z by dt square? We will denote it as z double dot. That is equal to minus g implies for a particle which is in vertical motion, under gravity, the acceleration of the particle, z double dot is nothing but acceleration. Acceleration of the particle will be downward. That is the meaning of this negative sign, and it will have a value of g. Acceleration due to gravity. So for a particle which is moving under the effect of gravity, the acceleration will be always in the downward direction, because we are considering upward direction as positive z. So minus sign indicates that gravitational force will be always acting vertically downward. This is the equation of motion. Once we have the equation of motion, you can solve that for finding the state of system at a particular instant of time. How we can solve this? You integrate once. Okay, you integrate once. This is a differential equation. In order to solve a differential equation, you need integration. So if you integrate once, that second derivative will become first derivative dz by dt. Right hand side becomes minus gt. Okay, minus g is a constant. If you integrate that, you will get minus gt plus some integration constant c. In order to find these constants, we need some initial conditions. Suppose we are dropping a particle, from z is equal to say h. If you are dropping a particle from a height h, then the initial conditions are z dot velocity at time 0 is 0 because it is simply dropping. For a particle which is dropping, the initial velocity is 0, and z at time t is equal to 0, at time t equal to 0 is h. These are the initial conditions. So if you substitute that initial condition here, what you will get? Dz by dt at time t equal to 0 is 0, is minus g into put t equal to 0 plus c. This implies c is 0. Therefore, I can write dz by dt is equal to minus gt. So, velocity of the particle at any instant of time is minus gt. So, after 1 second, what is velocity? It is minus 9.8 second, 9.8 meter per second. After 2 seconds, what is the velocity? It is minus 19.6 meter per second, and so on. If you integrate this once more, you already have dz by dt is equal to minus gt. Integrate once more. Integrate once more with respect to t. Then you will get it as integral dz is equal to integral minus gt plus minus gt dt. Right? Integral dz will give you z minus gt. It is minus half gt square, because minus g will come outside. T dt integral is t square by 2 plus some integration constant again. We already know that z of 0 is equal to h. So put t equal to 0 and z is equal to h. That will give you the value of c as h. So substituting there, you will get it as z is equal to h minus half gt square. Z is equal to h minus half gt square. So the situation is, this is the floor. You are dropping a stone from a height h. You are dropping a stone from a height h. This is the situation. As time increases, its velocity will increase and it is in the downward direction. So velocity at any instant of time t is given by minus gt, and position at any instant of time t is given by h minus half gt square. H minus half gt square. This is the state of system at any particular instant. So here we derived the state of system from the equation of motion, and that equation of motion we obtained using the treatment of Lagrangian. This is the general procedure for applying Lagrangian formulation, and this is the most simple problem that we can find. Okay, this is a system with a single particle and it has just 1 degree of freedom. It has just 1 degree of freedom. Okay. Now I will consider the second example. It is a harmonic oscillator. It is a harmonic oscillator. So an ideal model of harmonic oscillator is a spring with a mass attached to it. A spring with a mass attached to it. Suppose the spring has a spring constant K and this mass is M. Okay. Suppose this is the equilibrium position of spring. Okay. This is the unstretched position of spring. This is in the relaxed position. There is no compression. There is no stretching. Now, at any particular instant, suppose due to some external force, this spring stretches. And at any instant of time t, let its position is represented as x of t. Okay. This is equilibrium position. And at any instant of time t, this spring is this mass is oscillating, and at any instant of time t, let this be the position, and we can represent that position with x of t. Suppose this mass is restricted to move only along the x direction. We can first write the degrees of freedom. So the first thing we have to write is number of degrees of freedom. Number of degrees of freedom. Since the system is restricted to move only along the x direction, number of degrees of freedom is again 1. What is a suitable choice of generalized coordinate? Next process is to identify a suitable set of generalized coordinate. Here we need only one generalized coordinate, and that is of course the suitable choice is x of t, the displacement from the equilibrium position. Now the next step is expressing kinetic energy and potential energy, expressing kinetic energy and potential energy in terms of this generalized coordinate. As usual, kinetic energy is half mv square, and here it is half m into velocity is actually a rate of change of position. Here x dot is the position coordinate and its rate of change I can denote it as x dot. X dot means dx by dt whole square. So it is half m x dot square. Whether it is moving rightward or leftward, the x dot can be positive or negative, but x dot square will be always positive. Half m x dot square is kinetic energy. What is potential energy? What is potential energy? I already mentioned that there is two kinds of potential energy. One is gravitational potential energy, the other one is spring potential energy. In the earlier example, it was gravitational potential energy, and in this case, this spring potential energy. Spring potential energy, it is given by half k x square, where x is the extension or compression of the spring. This equation you already studied in +2 classes. So potential energy V is equal to half k x square, since x is the displacement from equilibrium position. K is spring constant. Therefore, I can write a Lagrangian. Which is the difference of kinetic energy and potential energy, and it is here half m x dot square minus half k x square. Half m x dot square minus half k x square. L is equal to T minus V. Now, what is equation of motion? Equation of motion is d by dt of dou L by dou x dot minus dou L by dou x equal to 0. Here the generalized coordinate is x and x dot is known as generalized velocity. We will have only one Lagrange's equation because we have only one generalized coordinate. We already know the value of L. It is half m x dot square minus half k x square. So we can easily find dou L by dou x, the partial derivative of L with respect to position. So half mx dot square, that will vanish because partial derivative is with respect to x. For the second term, you will get minus half k into x square. Derivative with respect to x is 2x. So that will give you minus kx. What is dou L by dou x dot? The first term will give you half m into 2x dot. So that is nothing but mx dot. Second time will vanish because it doesn't have any x dot dependence. Substituting back in the original equation, d by dt of dou L by dou x dot is mx dot minus dou L by dou x is minus kx equal to 0. Okay. So I can take m outside. For a non-relativistic case, m is constant. D by dt of x dot, you can write it as x double dot or d square x by dt square. Double dot means second derivative. Plus kx equal to 0. Or x double dot plus omega square x equal to 0, where omega square is nothing but k by m. If you divide throughout with m, this will be x double dot plus k by m x equal to 0, and k by m you can denote it as omega square. So this is x double dot plus omega square x equal to 0. This is the differential equation of harmonic oscillator. This is the differential equation of harmonic oscillator. Okay, this equation we can also arrive using the Newtonian mechanics. This is now we derived using the Lagrangian formulation. And you can also find the frequency of oscillation here. Comparing with the standard equation, you can see that the frequency of oscillation omega is root k by A. Omega is root k by A. Okay. By integrating this 2 times, you will get position as a function of time. Integrating once, you can find velocity as a function of time, as we did in the case of the previous example. Okay. Now, I will go to the next problem, third one. Projectile motion. The third example is projectile motion. In the case of projectile, what is the definition of a projectile? A particle which is projected with some initial velocity and then allows to move under the action of gravity alone. That is known as a projectile. A particle which is thrown with some initial velocity and then move under the action of gravity alone. The only force acting on the system should be gravity. Suppose I am considering the case with a projection at a particle which is projected at some angle with the x-axis. Suppose this is my x-axis, this is my y-axis, this is origin. Suppose a particle is projected from origin with an angle theta to x-axis. Its trajectory will be something like this. Its trajectory will be something like this. The particle will move along a parabolic track. I want to find the equation of motion. Equation of motion using Lagrangian method. Using Newtonian method, you already have equations of motion. You studied it in +2 classes. Okay. Now we will apply Lagrangian formulation in order to find the equation of motion. For using Lagrangian formulation, you need the kinetic energies and potential energies. So you have to mark the position coordinates of the particle at any instant of time. Let it be x and y. This horizontal position, this horizontal distance from origin, let it be x. Vertical height from origin, let it be y. Now, degrees of freedom. First, you have to identify degrees of freedom. How many degrees of freedom for this particle, a single particle, uh, which is in motion in a two-dimensional plane? So, degrees of freedom is of course 2. Degrees of freedom is of course 2. In the last two examples, we have motion in one dimension. This is actually a motion in two dimension, motion along a plane. So, the degrees of freedom is 2. Generalized coordinates. Generalized coordinates. What is the suitable choice of generalized coordinates? I will take now x and y coordinate of this particle as generalized coordinates. You can use polar coordinates also. But in this problem, I will use Cartesian coordinates. And in the next lecture, I will explain what is the significance of choosing as a particular set of coordinates and all. Okay. So now I restricted to a particular set of coordinates and I will choose it as Cartesian coordinates x and y. The next step is expressing kinetic energy and potential energy in terms of this generalized coordinates. So kinetic energy is as usual half mv square. But now this velocity, if I mark that velocity, that will be something like this here at this point. It will be tangential to the path. It will be tangential to the path. We can split this into two components, one along x direction and one along y direction. While splitting it into components, you should be careful that this should obey parallelogram law. Okay, the sum of these two components, component along x direction and component along y direction, should give you the resultant velocity. So I can write this v as vx I cap plus vy j cap. Okay, because these are rectangular components in two mutually perpendicular directions. Therefore, v square is v dot v, and it will be vx square plus vy square. But vx is nothing but x dot. Vx is velocity along x direction, and it is nothing but the rate of change of x coordinate with respect to time. And vy is y dot j cap. So vx square plus vy square is simply x dot square plus y dot square. Therefore, kinetic energy T of the system, I can write it as half m x dot square plus half m y dot square. This is the kinetic energy of the particle. Now, we will write potential energy. What is potential energy? Here, this is a case with the gravitational potential energy, because as the particle moves, there is a variation of height with respect to some reference point. And suppose we are taking the reference point as the x-axis. Okay, we will measure the height from this level. Okay, y equal to 0. And with respect to this level, this point have a vertical height y. So the potential energy, I will write it as mgy. Okay, potential energy is nothing but mg into vertical height. Here it is y, so potential energy is mgy. Next step is Lagrangian. Writing Lagrangian. Lagrangian L is the difference between kinetic energy and potential energy, T minus V. So now it is half into mx dot square plus half into my dot square minus mgy. This is a Lagrangian of projectile motion. Lagrangian of projectile motion using the generalized coordinates x and y. Okay. Now we can write equations of motion. The most important point is there will be two equations of motion. There will be two equations of motion since there are two generalized coordinates. Number of equations of motion is equal to number of generalized coordinates. The last two examples, there were only one generalized coordinate. So the equation of motion is also 1. Now we have two generalized coordinates, so there will be two equations of motion. First equation of motion is d by dt of dou L by dou x dot minus dou L by dou x equal to 0. Second equation of motion is d by dt of dou L by dou y dot minus dou L by dou y equal to 0. Okay. Now, we already have L. It is half m x dot square plus half m y dot square minus mgy. So what is dou L by dou x dot? It is mx dot. What is dou L by dou x? It is 0. What is dou L by dou y dot? It is my dot. What is dou L by dou y? It is minus mg. All these are partial derivative. Okay. So you need to consider only the terms which contains that particular variable. Okay. Now the first equation of motion become d by dt of mx dot minus 0 equal to 0. That is m x double dot is equal to 0. Second equation of motion is d by dt of dou L by dou y dot, that is my dot, minus mg equal to 0. This will give me my double dot is equal to minus mg, or y double dot is equal to minus g. So the two equations of motion are, one is x double dot is equal to 0, the second one is y double dot is equal to minus g. What is the meaning of these statements? X double dot is equal to 0 means acceleration along x direction is 0. Y double dot is equal to minus g means acceleration along y direction is minus g. As you all know, for a projectile motion, the only force acting on it is gravity, and it is in the vertically downward direction. That is why it is minus g. Okay, acceleration along y direction is minus g, and acceleration along x direction is 0. There is no force along the x direction. The velocity along x direction will be a constant throughout. Okay, throughout the motion, velocity along x direction will be a constant. Velocity along y direction, first it will decrease and it reaches to 0, and then it will increase in the reverse direction. That is the case with the projectile motion. Okay, so this is the Lagrangian formulation of projectile motion. The next example that we are going to consider is that of a simple pendulum. Okay, example 4 is simple pendulum. A simple pendulum is nothing but a bob having a mass m, which is tied to a string. The other end of the string is fixed at some point, and the bob is free to move in a plane. Okay, a bob which is attached to a string. The other end of the string is fixed at some point, that is known as point of suspension. The length of the string is, say, L, and the mass is M. Okay, this is the case with a simple pendulum. Now, how many degrees of freedom for this system? Degrees of freedom. Degrees of freedom. Even though the motion is in a plane and both x coordinate and y coordinate are varying, if you have a reference frame like this, so this is x axis, this is y axis, and this is origin, then with respect to this coordinate frame, this particle will have an x coordinate and a y coordinate. Y coordinate will of course be negative, and when the particle moves, since this length is fixed, it will be along the arc of a circle having radius L. So both x and y coordinate will vary, but there exists a relation, a constraint relation, that is x square plus y square is always L square. So that is a constraint, and this is a holonomic constraint. So it will reduce the degree of freedom. Since the particle is moving in a plane, it is having 2 degrees, but it is restricted by a holonomic constraint. So 2 minus 1, that will be 1. Okay, degree of freedom of the system will be 1 because there is a constraint. Even though the motion is in a plane, we have a constraint in the form x square plus y square is equal to L square. So the number of degrees of freedom is just 1. What is a suitable generalized coordinate for this problem? Generalized coordinate for this problem. If you choose x as generalized coordinate, you cannot find y uniquely because y is plus or minus root of L square minus x square. You will have two values for y. If you choose x as generalized coordinates, you cannot find y uniquely. Therefore, that is not a suitable choice. Y is also not a suitable choice. And here we can choose the angle made with vertical. Angle made with vertical. That is angle from this vertical. Theta as a suitable generalized coordinate. So a suitable generalized coordinate is theta. Now, we have to express kinetic energy and potential energy in terms of this generalized coordinate. Kinetic energy, as usual, it is half mv square. Half mv square. And in this case, the velocity of the particle will be tangential to the circular arc, and it will be something like this. It will be something like this. This is v. Again, we can write V in terms of this generalized coordinate. When a particle moves along a circular arc, the velocity V is related to angular velocity omega as V is equal to R omega. V is equal to R omega. When a particle moves along a circular path of radius R and it is having an angular velocity omega, then the linear velocity V is R omega. Here, instead of R, you have L because this particle is moving along a circular arc of radius L. Omega is theta dot. Angular velocity is angle is theta. This theta is varying with respect to time. So theta dot is angular velocity. So you have to substitute V as L theta dot. So V square becomes L theta dot square. So this is half m L square theta dot square. This is kinetic energy T. What is potential energy? This potential energy will of course gravitational potential energy because there is a variation of height and you can fix the reference point anywhere. Suppose I am taking the reference point as this origin. Okay, this origin y equal to 0 is the reference point. Reference for potential is y equal to 0. With respect to this reference, what is the present position? Present vertical position. It is nothing but L cos theta. Because this length is L, this string has length L. Then if you draw a right angle triangle like this, the adjacent side to this theta will be L cos theta. Because from this triangle cos theta is adjacent side by hypotenuse. So adjacent side is hypotenuse into cos theta. Therefore, potential energy I can write it as mg into h. Instead of h, I have minus L cos theta. Why minus L cos theta? Because it is in the downward direction. So, potential energy is minus mgl cos theta. Therefore, Lagrangian, it is the difference between kinetic energy and potential energy. It is T minus V and it is nothing but half m L square theta dot square plus mgl cos theta. This is Lagrangian of a simple pendulum. This is Lagrangian of a simple pendulum. Half m L square theta dot square plus mgl cos theta. You have to specify that the reference for potential energy is a point of suspension. Then only it will have this form. Okay. Now, equation of motion. What is equation of motion? D by dt of dou L by dou theta dot minus dou L by dou theta equal to 0. Here theta is the generalized coordinate. We already have L half m L square theta dot square minus mgl cos theta, and this is not minus, this is plus mgl cos theta. Dou L by dou theta will be minus mgl sin theta. Dou L by dou theta dot will be ml square theta dot. Simply take partial derivative with respect to theta and theta dot. Substitute back in the original expression, you will get d by dt of dou L by dou theta dot is ml square theta dot minus mgl sin theta equal to 0. So this is ml square you can take outside, theta double dot. Okay, single dot means time derivative. One more time derivative you can put two dots plus mgl sin theta equal to 0. Dividing throughout with ml square, you will get theta double dot plus g by l sin theta equal to 0. This is equation of motion. If theta is very small, we can write a sin theta approximately theta. Then that equation of motion will become theta double dot plus g by l theta is equal to 0. This is similar to the equation of a harmonic oscillator, and you can write omega square as g by l and omega is root g by L. Time period t is equal to 2 pi by omega. We have that standard expression t is equal to 2 pi by omega and it is 2 pi root of L by G. As you all know, the equation of the time period, the equation of time period for a simple pendulum, and it is 2 pi root of L by G. This is the procedure for finding the equation of motion using Lagrangian formulation in the case of a simple pendulum. Now, in order to explain the advantage of the formulation of Lagrangian formulation, I will give you the same problem in using Newtonian mechanics. Okay, we will solve this same system using Newtonian mechanics in order to understand the advantage of Lagrange. Okay, simple pendulum using Newtonian mechanics. Simple pendulum using Newtonian. Okay, again you have a string, a mass is attached to the end of this one end of the string, the other end of the string is fixed and is known as point of suspension. The length of the string is L, mass is M. In order to use Newtonian mechanics, you have to mark the forces acting on the system. What are the forces acting on the system? One is gravity, mg. One is gravity, mg, that is acting vertically downward. And the second one is, of course, the tension acting on the string. The tension acting on the string. That will be along the string towards the fixed direction, fixed point. Okay, fixed point is now the point of suspension. So these are the two forces. These are the two forces acting on the bob. Tension T and weight mg. In order to solve using Newtonian mechanics, we have to find the resultant force. Now these two forces are in different direction. In order to find the resultant force, you have to know how to resolve vectors. Okay, one of the method is to resolve this vectors mg. So I can resolve this mg into two components. I can resolve this mg into two components. One opposite to tension, the other one is in this direction. Okay, when you resolve it into components, you have to be careful that this will give you this resultant. Okay, this component should give you the resultant. Now, if this direction vertical is the angle between vertical and this length L is theta, then this angle will also be theta. So this component is mg cos theta. This component is mg sin theta. Okay, since there is no motion along the direction of length or along the direction of length of the string, the length L is fixed. That means there is no motion in this direction. So in that direction, the forces should balance. I can write T is equal to mg cos theta. T is equal to mg cos theta. But there is one more component for mg, that mg sin theta. That will give the restoring force. Okay, mg sin theta will provide the restoring force for the bob. If you displace the bob from equilibrium position and if you remove the applied force, then it will go back. Okay, and the reason for that is there is a restoring force and it is given by mg sin theta. It is given by mg sin theta. Now, since the motion is a rotation, you can find a restoring torque. You can find a restoring torque. What is a restoring torque? Tau is equal to force into perpendicular distance. Mg sin theta into perpendicular distance from, we are calculating torque about this point of suspension about this point of suspension. So mg sin theta into L will give you restoring torque. And I will put a negative sign in order to show that this is a restoring. Okay, this is a restoring torque. We will put a negative sign. According to Newton's second law, what is Newton's second law? In rotational motion, tau is equal to I into d square theta by dt square. In linear motion, Newton's second law is F is equal to m into d square h by dt square, mass into acceleration, for a non-relativistic case. And in rotational motion, it is force will be replaced with the torque, mass will be replaced with the moment of inertia, linear displacement x will replace with angular displacement theta. Tau is equal to I into d square theta by dt square. What is tau here? Minus mg sin theta into L is equal to I into d square theta by dt square. So I can write it as I d square theta by dt square plus mgl sin theta equal to 0. Now what is moment of inertia I? For a point mass moving at a distance L from an axis, it is given by ml square. So substitute for I, ml square d square theta by dt square plus mgl sin theta equal to 0. So dividing throughout with ml square, you will get d square theta by dt square plus g by l sin theta is equal to 0. For small theta, sin theta approximately theta, then you can write it as theta double dot plus g by l theta is equal to 0. Again, the same equation that we obtained using Lagrangian formulation. But when you use Newtonian mechanics, you have to identify the forces, you have to mark the free body diagram, you have to know the method of resolving the vector to rectangular components. Okay, but in using Lagrangian formulation, you don't need an idea of forces, you just need idea of velocity and positions. Okay, because Lagrangian consists of only kinetic energy and potential energy, that need only information about velocities and positions. No need to find the forces acting on the system, no need to resolve the forces into components, no need to find the resultant of the forces. Okay, so that is the advantage of Lagrangian formulation. I will give more examples in the next lecture. Thank you.